So we'll quickly review what the translation is going through. So in the previous chapter, Krishna has in the previous chapter, Arjuna has asked him, so okay, tell me what are the different ways what are the different paths. So Krishna has, how do I resolve my confusion? So Krishna says, okay, there are these two ways. One is the way of the Sankhya, where you know the self as being untarnished by anything, untouched. And then the other one is the Karma Yoga, be 100% in the action without investing, without being caught up in the fruits of it, without being caught up in success or failure, the dualities. So the way of the Karma Yoga. And then it says, so naturally the question is, okay, if knowledge is so superior, then why should we even be acting? And previously he had said that when your intellect rests, listening to these conflicting statements, that is when it attains, it transcends. So that was the thing. Where was it? Somewhere here. Yeah, here. Shruti Vipratipannate. So then the second chapter 53, he said that when your intellect, when it is the intellect which is caught up in the moha, in the entangled in the world, when it hearing all the contradictory statements, it will rest, and then it can attain the ultimate. So then same thing is happening to Arjun now. So he's asking, he's like, tell me one thing. It's very confusing. Just tell me exactly one thing which I can follow. So then Krishna says, look, I mean, this is something which has come by tradition. I told this many at the beginning of the creation to the sun, and oh no, that is in the next chapter. So here basically saying that, okay, so these are these two ways. One is through the knowledge, through the wisdom, knowing the truth of it all, or the second is through the action, to karma. It says you cannot even be without doing anything. So the action is natural, but one who is able to, you cannot just be free without acting, nor can you be free by just stopping all actions and just dropping. So you have to act. You cannot anyway be without any action. So you have to, the body moves. In order to preserve the body, you have to keep moving, keep acting, because the body is regulated by the three gunas of sattva, rajas, and tamas. Now, suppose you don't act. Suppose you say, okay, I want to kill the desire. I want to do whatever. I want to transcend the opposites. So if you restrain the organs of actions, but you sit thinking about it, dwelling about it, then also it doesn't help. But without any hatred or aversion towards the sense or objects, if you are able to just quietly, calmly, dispassionately able to do whatever needs to be done, to engage in the action with enthusiasm, but not with entanglement, not brooding over it all the time, and doing whatever is needed to be done 100%. Then that such kind of an action, which is done with an objective of greater good, that is the yagya. Yagya means, yagya has three connotations. This tapa, dan, and sangati karana. Tapa means some austerity, some willingly taking up uncomfortable challenges, something which is challenging, something which is uncomfortable, willingly. So that is yagya. And then that has the three aspects, tapa, dana, and sangatikaran. So it also involves coming together, integrating, and then dana means also giving, coming with the spirit of giving. That is yagya. So if one acts with this towards this yagya, that is the only action which does not bind. All other actions bind. And so keep doing your duties, but drop the identification with it. That's what he's saying here. And then this is what he says, this is what the at the beginning of creation of at the beginning of this creation, the Prajapati, he tells all the various forces of nature that and also the man humans, that if you honor the nature, if you honor the forces of nature, then you will get nature will also serve you, and together, like you serve the nature, nature serves you, and that's how you will live in harmony. And if you don't do this, if you do not honor the nature, like with pollution and all these things, like if you do not, if we just go with greed and with short-term gain rather than the long-term good, the greater good of all, then that will not lead to anything good. So when acting in the interest of knowledge, of wisdom, uh, when we act, and then after that with a sense of offering, with a sense of sharing, and then keep and then take whatever is left, then that leads to greater good. Then this is a mechanics. He says everyone comes from the food. All the being comes from food, and food comes from rain. Rain comes from the yagya. So basically, what he's saying is that the nature, like if we suppose there is, if we cut all the forests, if we do not honor the nature, then there is no rain. Rains, there's a drought happens. So honoring the nature, honoring, acting with wisdom rather than with selfish motives, that is what sustains the environment. That's what he's saying. So if you act without the knowledge, if you act without the interest of the greater higher knowledge, then it will not be good. That's what he's saying there. And once you taste the joy of the self, then everything else loses its charm, and there is no more duty left for such a person. If you attain contentment, like Buddha attained contentment, then there's no more anything left. But they do, because out of their compassion, but there's nothing left for them to do. And so keep on doing your duty without this attachment. Give your 100% without being caught up. That is the supreme. So, and then he gives the example of Janak. Janak also, from Ashtavakra Gita fame, Janak, he also and many other enlightened masters attained the enlightenment, attained the freedom through this method, or through this understanding. And they have to set an example. So okay, he says, look, I don't have anything left for me to do. Everything is just acting, but I still honor this, because if I don't do it, then I have to set an example. So okay, if everybody gets enlightened, then who will act? So no, that is the point. You need nothing for yourself, then you act so that you set an example so that everybody else can benefit. And then he says, look, if I do not act, then everything will perish, but I need to keep doing what is needed. And you cannot be without acting, and you do not need to stop acting. So just like the ignorant person acts for their short-term goals, like that the wise should act for the long-term goal and for the greater good. And don't have to go on trying to tell anybody else who does not, ignorant person, somebody who is not interested in the knowledge, you don't have to create confusion for them. You just keep this to yourself, keep doing innocently. And anyway, everything is just happening. All the different sattva, rajas, tamas are moving in itself, but it's only the fool who thinks, who identifies and thinks, oh, I am doing this, or this person is doing that. But one who really understands the tattvas, the elements, they know the play of it. So okay, this is all just appearing, but it's all the elements moving in themselves. It's almost mechanistic. So, but if you identify with the gunas, if you say okay, if you identify the actions of the gunas as action of one, that it does not lead to any great gain. So that dedicating all, so knowing me as the source of all the actions of the karmas, all the impressions. Normally we do not want karmas, we want freedom from karmas. But if you say okay, these all karmas originate from the divine and go into the divine, then there is no conflict left. So then here he says one thing about anasuya, one who is not a fault finding, who is not a fault finding eye. That is the one who is qualified for this knowledge. Um, and yeah, like we said earlier, everyone follows their own nature, natural tendencies. But what is the point of just forcing? What is the point of trying to force? So then he explains it. So yeah, everything is. What is the point? Is that when the senses move in the sense objects for the purpose that they need to act, rather than out of the cravings and aversions of the mind, then uh, then there can be freedom. But if the senses get caught up in the sense objects out of desire, then there is destruction, then there's problem. So being acting from one's nature, one's true nature, dharma, the true nature, that is what is superior to trying to follow somebody else or some other somebody else's nature, or trying to imitate somebody else. It's being established in one's nature. So then Arjun says, okay, why? Okay, I know all these things, but then still my mind goes into all this nonsense and acts in ways which are not good for me in the long term. Which is sin means what is not good for oneself or for the humanity in the long term. So why does this happen? So it is all because of rajas, the desire and the anger, and it is a companion. The desire really covers the knowledge, just like the embryo covers the womb.
Amnion covers the embryo.
Amnion covers the embryo. Amniotic fluid, no?
Hmm.
So so basically it is, I mean, it is inseparable. Opposite values are complementary. Okay, knowledge cannot be without, just like smoke covers the fire, like that knowledge cannot be without desire, yet it is the ultimate enemy. Enemy of knowledge, meaning that it destroys the awareness, the desire.
Richard, does he imply that the desire also is from the play of the elements, or the desire is
Desire
just
originates from rajas. That originates from the rajas, and
so
it's is the mind, intellect, mind and the intellect and the senses.
which catch on to it? So the desire is also moving around with the gunas, coming and
Desire
going?
originates from rajogun, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But with the intellect is also subject to the gunas, but it has the capacity to see beyond, to see that which is beyond the gunas.
Right.
So he says this knowledge is covered, the senses, the mind, and the intellect are its seat. So what you need to do is, but this can only be realized if the senses are controlled. If the senses are controlled, then the Rajogun can be transcended.
Mm.
So beyond, then this is the thing. More powerful than the intellect, more powerful than the senses is the mind. More powerful than the mind is the intellect. And beyond the intellect is who you are. So once you know this, once you have tasted this, like in meditation, then you are able to transcend the desire. You are able to destroy the uh, big monster of desire. Very strong words. Monster. Kill the desire. All right. And then goes to chapter 4, where this is where he says, okay, I have come before. And then Arjun is Arjun is so close to Krishna, but he's also very uh, sharp. So he's like, look, I mean, you are just born yesterday. I mean, not yesterday, but like recently. How come you think you are saying that I have taught this knowledge so many years, so many at the beginning of creation? He said, look, I have also born many times. You have born many times. Difference is I know that I am beyond, and you do not know yet. So that's the only difference. And I come again and again whenever it's needed. The dharma, when it perishes or it becomes fainter, when it deteriorates, I come to revive it again and again for the protection of all the seekers. And the birth, one who knows that my birth and activities are divine, then there is no more compulsion, or then you're no more by the force of karma. You can choose where you want to be born and how you want to do what you want to do when you're free from desire and free from the craving and aversion. So then he says there is no when you transcend this craving and aversion, then whatever you do, it will not bind you. But you have to know what is action, what is inaction, and which is very confusing. But you have to know this, and I will tell you what it is. So you should know the action, karma, what is akarma and vikarma, and if you can see the inaction in action and action in inaction, that is a skillful one. The skill is in seeing the action in inaction, inaction in action. And then this is a very interesting thing. So one who acts with the fire of knowledge, but not one whose intentions and actions are not tainted by small minded desire. In all actions, in all initiatives, this person is able to move with the fire of wisdom. Then there is no bondage resulting from that. And not being caught up, not identifying with the fruit of action. Oh, I did this, I feel so good. I feel so good is a fruit of the action, but not identifying with that. Oh, this is a feeling, this comes, this goes. Observing that, being able to observe that without being caught up or stuck in it. So I think that's how far we went for today.
There was something about the yagna and the Brahman itself is sacrificing the Brahman. I didn't get that part. I
we did,
didn't
yeah,
get that part.
you are right. We did go further. Um, so that comes. So this is he's saying that one dissolving the uh, dropping the identification, free from the identities, and established in the knowledge and the wisdom when one acts in order to preserve the knowledge for the yajna, then everything uh, is taken care of. That person is able to move the world. Pravilya, samagram pravilyate. Everything is is able to do everything, to dissolve all actions, not only of themselves but of everybody. So
Mm.
Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir. So Brahma Arpanam means offering. The Brahman is the offering. The Brahman is the act of offering, and the Brahma is the one which is offering. So the offerer, the offering, the act of offering, and the fire into which it is being offered. All of that is one divine. That is the Brahman. It all comes from Brahman, it goes into Brahman, it is in the Brahman, and the all action is also in the Brahman. So that is the meaning. So it comes from infinity, it is in infinity, it is being offered into infinity. The what is being offered is also part of the same infinity. The feelings are also infinity, the thoughts, the breath is also infinity. Then further he says, okay, some people will say they will offer for the yajna. How do you do this yajna? How do you perform this? So okay, so some people will offer to the devas, to the forces of nature, environmental, whatever, preserving. Some the farmer is honoring the nature. They are offering their service to the nature. So somebody who is gardening, who is taking care of the forest, of the trees, they are offering into the nature. And uh, others offer ದೈವಮೇ ಪವರೇ ಯೋಗಿನ ಪರಿಪಸ್ತೆ. So others will just offer themselves, their mind, their whole identity into the they just offer their own identity. So then there's like the way of the sannyasis. Others will give their thing, that whatever you hear, whatever you touch, taste, everything, if you offer it into the fire of sanyam means having that awareness or say over the senses beyond the not being swayed by the cravings and aversions. So they have the so much regulation on what they speak. So when you do silence, what we do, we offer the words, the sense of speech. We're offering it to this, uh, and others will do the reverse. They will speak the fire of the senses. They think that whatever you are doing, they offer it into that fire. So either way, either you restrained, if you say you go inward, or you go from in to out with this understanding that I'm offering this. Are you speaking? But you're speaking not for selfish, not for your own this thing, but you're speaking for Gurudev travels. This is also yajna, like that. So like that, there are many different types of yajna. There is dravya yajna, then tapo yajna, yoga yajna, many different types of yajna. Swadhyay, this what we are doing is swadhyay, self-study, like that. And then there is somebody who is the breath, the nadi shodhan pranayam we do, or any pranayam or kriya we do, that is also offering the breath, inhalation into exhalation, prana and apana. These are the two. And it is the prana also has it's also regulated by the food, right? Food, sleep, breath, and knowledge, all the sources of prana. So even all those things, all the sources of prana also, offering the prana into the prana, seeing the life as a flow of the prana, like that. Like that, he goes on describing different methods by which the yajna can happen. So you feed somebody. You say, okay, I'm going to feed the poor people. That is also a type of yajna, like that. Remaining, we'll see, I guess, how many remaining. Only less, 10, 15. Maybe we can complete it. So he describes all these different types of yajnas, and then he says, look, I mean, now you feed somebody. If you say any material yajna, if you say, okay, you perform any rituals or you feed somebody, feed the poor people, that is good. But the yajna of knowledge is even better than that. So all the so many different forms of yajnas are set, but they all are all are good. They all involve the mind, body, and the senses. But you can transcend through the knowledge. So now what you can do is you, pranipatena, with honor and with a sense of inquiry, honor filled inquiry, we need to again and again investigate the knowledge. So and seek those who are enlightened, who have attained the highest, and learn from them with honor, with reverence and service. And then when at some point none of this will matter to you, none of the what appears to be sinful, none of these things will sway you or entangle you. And this knowledge is so powerful that it can be a raft to you in the greatest of the storms, greatest of the the mire, the misery, ocean of misery, samsara. It can take you across. And just like how some dry grass is burnt into ashes, like that, this fire of knowledge burns all the karmas, all the impressions. There's nothing in this world which is more, which is a greater purifier than this knowledge. And it's itself effulgent, like by its own light, it shines through. It's but it needs some faith. It needs the love for the unknown, like that. But one who does not have faith, one who does not have uh, the love for the unknown, devotion to the knowledge, and keeps on uh, engaging in self-doubt, or keeps on uh, who is determined to go the other direction, who is determined to go in engage in self-pity, self-doubt, they will not be able to progress. And they do not get any joy in the world, nor can they get any joy in the beyond. But so acting at the same time with the knowledge transcending the doubts, they attain the self and then they're not bound by these actions. That's what he's saying. So then he says, come on, get up, take this sword of knowledge and then cut to pieces the all the doubts in the small mind, and get up and stand up, like I stand for peace, stand up for the knowledge. That's what it says. There ends the chapter 4. Amazing, no?
It's amazing.